everybody. I'm so glad that you could join me here to talk about the history of tennis. So when I was in high school, we had a very successful tennis team. We actually ended up taking home gold as a team, as did I individually my sophomore year. And ever since then, tennis has been one of my favorite sports. And I was thinking about it and how I love tennis so much, and I realized that I had no clue where it came from. I wasn't sure if it was a single person or if it was over a span of time. I just wasn't sure. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. According to Statistica.com, it is estimated that over 18 million people play tennis every year. And I think that these numbers are so high because whether you're playing competitively or just for fun, it's a lifelong game that everyone can play. And so I'm here to inform you of the history of tennis and how it became the sport that it is today. So the historical development of tennis dates back several thousands of years. At the very beginning of tennis was in the 12th century with a game called pomme, which means palm. So basically what they would do is they had a leather ball filled with human hair or animal hair, and they would just hit it against a wall, basically like our modern day racquetball. And they realized this kind of hurt their hands, so that evolved in the 13th century to jeu de paume, which means game of the palm. And basically the only difference is they came up with leather gloves to cover their hands to hopefully help make the ball not hurt so much every time that they played it. And this was very popular with the royal family and monks and many people of those times. And so hundreds of years that went on, people got kind of tired of it and it kind of died down until the 1850s when Charles Goodyear made the rubber ball. And that completely evolutionized the game of tennis because suddenly instead of hitting a ball that hurt your hand and that didn't bounce very much, you had a very bouncy ball that was fun to play with, and they actually had paddles, and they had invented paddles that they could hit the ball with, which made tennis a lot more accessible to a lot of people and made it a lot more appealing. So then in 1974, Walter Clopton Wingfield created a version of tennis called sfraktisi, which is Greek for playing ball. So his court was set up as an hourglass, so it'd go in and out. So the back of the court, and then they had the net up there, which was pretty small, and it was curved in and then out. So the rules were basically the same as we know today, except for the fact that they didn't have doubles lines, and obviously the net was much smaller. And so 3 years after the invention of sfraktisi, the All England Crochet Club needed to raise money to fix some broken equipment, but instead they decided, let's just renovate the whole thing and make our own tennis court that they thought was much better. So they made what we know as the modern tennis court today, and they made the straight rectangle, and they called this lawn tennis. So they thought that this version was so much better, and they thought that everybody should be playing this game because it was so great. And so they set up a tournament in a suburb of London called Wimbledon, which quickly became the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world. The All England Lawn Tennis and Crochet Club has hosted the Wimbledon Championship every year since. And probably many of you have seen the Wimbledon on TV, as it is a very big event every year. So since the start of lawn tennis, nothing much has changed with the rules, except for a couple of little tweaks that they made to it. So the court is obviously rectangular, divided by a net that is 3.5 feet long. And so they have, you can either play singles or doubles, which singles is the first line and doubles is the second line. So players use rackets that are usually made with graphite and strung with synthetic fibers to hit a rubber ball covered in felt over the net. So the object of the game is to hit the ball in a way that your opponent cannot play a return. So if your opponent cannot return the ball over the net or in the court, then you earn a point. So one player serves for the entire game, and the first player to score 4 points with at least a 2-point lead wins the game. So it goes love, 15, 30, 40, and then possibly deuce. And so to win a set, a player must win 6 games with at least 2 more games than the opponent. And so finally, to win a whole match, you must win at least 2 out of 3 sets. So as you can see, the game can be very long, but it is always very fun. So tennis is an amazing lifelong sport that has a lot of history. Today we went through the history of tennis. So from where tennis began thousands of years ago to where it is now is just amazing to me. So if you and your friends are bored one day, I encourage you to go outside and play tennis.